Was cracking raza. This is a question that I got from a subscriber. He had a question for me. I thought it was a good one to touch on, so here we are. So he wanted to know how was my relationship with my Norteno uncles, and was it ever rocky if it's good now? So let's get into it. Well, my relationship with my uncles, to be honest, is great on my end. I'm sure they feel the same, but I honestly don't see my uncles as my uncles, and let me explain why. So, my OG uncle, he's like a second father figure to me. He's the one that taught me the value of family, to show respect when I'm shown respect, and without him even knowing, he's also the reason why I was so deeply into gangstership, basically. For trying to emulate his stories and the respect he had from his people around him, and he's also the reason why I took a step back and put efforts into other aspects of my life. So again, let me explain what I mean by that. So again, I tried to emulate his story. I wanted to make mine the same as his, just in a smarter way, I guess you can say. And what I mean by he's also the reason why I took a step back from, being, involved all crazy and things like that, is because he's my older uncle, that he's the OG of the family. So, he already did this, he lived this, he's past it. He's a working man, he's a family man, but don't get it twisted. He still has his homeboys. He's still pushing, doing his thing, like, as far as a family man. But like I said, he still has his homies. Nothing has changed, basically. Just because he grew up doesn't mean he lost respect. It's just a different type of respect that people have for him now. So my Norteño uncle, the one under him, basically the middle one of the ones that do gangbang, rest in peace to my tío. He was like my boy more than an uncle. But even to say my boy, it's not enough. He was that one uncle that was ready to ride whenever, which wasn't always a good thing, but hey, that was my tío, and I love that fool like my uncle and my boy. My youngest uncle, he's the one that it was the most rocky with in the past, but most likely because of the age difference between him and the other brothers. He's only 10 years older than me, so he was still pushing while I was doing my thing early on. While the other two, they were doing their family thing or on their own thing, dealing with personal things. But my youngest uncle, he's like a cousin more than an uncle to me, which is why I said that I don't see them as my cousins. But he's probably the one I'm closest to and can bullshit with them like a cousin, like a brother, things like that, My earliest memory that was gang-related with my OG uncle, my Uncle Flaco, is when I got sent to Folsom State Prison for a scared straight type of program while I was on probation when I was, I think, 12 or 13, something around there. That field trip, we were all supposed to wear a plain black T-shirt with khaki pants and black shoes. I chose my Chucks, but, well, when the trip was over, we went to a barbecue at my Uncle Flaco's house, and he hit me up about the wardrobe choice that I picked. I laughed because it wasn't even my choice to wear that on that particular day, like I said, but oh well, that was the incident that, well, with my Uncle Flaco and, other little small ones like him taking my hair nets off of me and checking who my friends were, things like that I can really remember. But it was nothing too crazy with him. Like I said, he's the older one. He's the more mature one. He's the glue to the family. So he's obviously I feel like he was checking me more on the aspect of, checking me on my footsteps, where I was headed towards, not just me being a Southerner, just in general, he was checking me. With my uncle, the one that passed away, my Uncle Lefty, his was a bit more aggressive. Let me get into it, though, and explain what happened and why. So, we were in San Martin. For those that don't know, San Martin is It's like a street basically, but it's a little area between San Jose and Gilroy, kind of like before Morgan Hill as well, or maybe after. I don't even remember, to be honest. I haven't been there in years, but so we were in San Martin hanging out with one of my cousins who's also a Northerner and a family friend from 18th Street. I know my family's all dysfunctional, got every damn side you could think of, but well, that day I was maybe 12 or 13 as well. Wasn't too far from the other incident with my OG uncle, but so my uncle Lefty, he told my cousin that I was becoming a Southsider at the time, and they tried to scare me, telling me they were Norteños, and they had every right to jump me, basically, even though we were all family and whatnot. But it is what it is. So, not trying to add no 10 to the 2s and all that, I stood my ground and said, basically do what you got to do. But the family friend, the 18th Streeter, he told him to chill out. He was like, hey, man, like, that's your nephew. How you going to do that to your family? And basically, with that little conversation or whatever, it all became jokes and laughs, and the issue was dead then and there. The alcohol was to blame because nothing like that ever happened again with my deal. And on the contrary, he's the one, like I said, that he was down for me no matter what. No matter who it was that was fucking with me or anything like that, north or south, he didn't give a shit. He was with the business. As for the youngest uncle, my Uncle Speedy, the one I'm closest to now, it was a little rougher. And let me explain why. So we bump heads a lot, and well, not a lot, but more often than the others, my other uncles. It only got physical one time, and from his part, not mine. And again, the alcohol was to blame because nothing like that ever happened again. But so I want to say I was 14. Let's just say I was 14 at the time. So we were drinking while my brother, the sober one, was driving us around. My uncle was on the aux cable because there was no Bluetooth back then. And if there was, we couldn't afford it yet. So he was playing his music and I would play mine. At the time, I was a big Little Rob fan. And I didn't see Little Rob as a Sureño. He was a resident to me more than anything. But to my uncle, obviously, Little Rob was a Southerner. So I played a song by him, and that's when the night went south. No pun intended. But so tension was in the air, and before we knew it, we were outside of my uncle's place, having a verbal, I guess you could say an argument. Nothing crazy. Long story short, he pushed me. My brother got in between us, and I was small and skinny. My brother threw me in the car. We went home. It was what it was. Next day, though, my uncle called me to apologize. And, big respect to my uncle for doing that because it takes a man to apologize, especially to his own nephew that's 14 years old, So, again, big respect to my uncle for doing that. That's why he's my fucking dog now. But, regardless, I wouldn't fight any one of my uncles. My parents raised me to see my uncles and aunts like our parents. So I hold no grudges at the end of the day. It's my family, and they've all shown me different lessons in life. The only getting used to that took me time was being around their homeboys at family functions or just when they would come over. But I'd have to give most of the credit to my Uncle Speedy for helping me grow out of the hate I had towards Northerners. Because, just being around his boys that are all also around his age, the younger crowd, and seeing they weren't so bad after all and weren't so different, it made me open my eyes and learn to judge a man by his actions and not his affiliations. So, like I said, my family's my family and I'm rocking with them till the wheels fall off. And anybody that doesn't like it can write me a strong-worded email and shove it up their ass. For all I give a fuck. That being said, I hope this answers your question, G. I can't remember your name, but I hope it answers your question. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any questions that you want me to make a video on, leave it in the comments or my Instagram at Upstate POV. With that being said, until the next one, al ratos.